Okay, going to make a short video on how to handle and set up your Datacard 295. This is a Datacard 280, but the principles remain the same. First off is how to properly lift and maneuver this machine without damaging it. So the most important thing to look at first off is this compartment on the end. You can't put any direct heavy pressure on top of it. You can't lift from this edge. And then down here at the bottom, looking here, this part right here, you cannot grab. You can't get under this and lift on this end either. That would bend this up. This is the reject exit bin. So the good cards will accumulate in the output bin right here, and the rejects, occasionally if you have one, would exit here if they weren't successful. Now where you can lift from is directly under this edge, underneath here, but to the left of, not coming over here. So see this dividing line here? You can lift to the left of it all the way here. You can lift underneath on the back. There's also a lip right here that you can lift on. On the front, you do not want to put any pressure on the lid, and you can't lift on the lid, but you can lift underneath. Let me back up a little bit. Coming from over here, there is a lip right here. You can lift here, and you can lift directly under this, so long as you're not, again, you cannot pull or press or push on the reject exit bin. Okay, so you can lift anywhere along here and anywhere along here. This you can also lift on. This is the input bin. This is where cards are loaded in, and do not grab from here, but you can grab underneath here and here. You can lift underneath all along here. So you can lift underneath the input bin all the way around, and you can lift underneath on this end. It's a two-man carry. Do not attempt to have one person that, well, I'm strong enough for the weight. It's not about the weight. I can physically lift one of these, but if you want to make sure that you're not going to damage it, you have to make sure that that you handle it correctly. And you can't put it down heavy or hard. It does need to go onto a solid, flat, and level surface. It needs to be put in a climate controlled, where you can't have a lot of humidity or heat, because these things that will affect the sensors and components, that if it's in a very humid or a very hot or an excessively cold environment, that it will not operate correctly. On the back end, to the right if you're facing it, is where the power goes. So your power cable plugs into here, and the power on and off is right here. Okay, we do recommend plugging these directly into the wall, or better yet, using a quality surge suppressor. Do not use extension cords or lightweight power strips. It does need to be a quality one, because this has a substantial number of physical motors and mechanical parts. So it's not like electronics that needs very little power. This does need a solid source of power. Okay, going around to the left side, you're going to see a couple ports here. One says terminal, one says host, and then one should be covered here that you don't need to worry about for auxiliary. What you're going to plug into is the host port. Now we sent you a cable. One end of the cable is going to be a 25 pin that connects into the data card, and the other end is going to be a 9 pin. Is going to be 9 pin that would go into a serial port. And you'll notice that ours is plugged into an additional cable, because the computer that we're using does not have a serial port. So in that case, we use, I apologize if this is going, we use a USB to serial port adapter. That we did not include, but we can send you a link where you can get one through Amazon Prime for less than $10. This is the TrendNet TU-S9, and we find that universally that this is the best plug and play for the serial port adapter, USB to RS-232. Okay, I'm going to address the foil real quick, just in case there's ever a point in time that you are needing to do something with it because there was a jam or you're reloading, which we do have a video for that. But I just want to bear in mind that this over here is a bit delicate and you got to be careful about it. If you're ever going to need to remove this, the most important thing is this right here has to be raised up. You cannot pull it out without raising that up. So this has a spring in it. So with one hand you'll have to hold this up, and then with the other hand you will, pull this out. It's kind of hard right now because I'm holding it, but I'm going to, with my right hand, hold this up, with my left hand pull this straight off, so that got another one here so that I have it. So you'll see that that's the same thing. So I have the wheel with the sensor there. That basically is the sensor that determines how much the foil is turning. So that wheel is raised, and then this is slid off like so. And we have another video, we'll give you a link on how we put new ribbon in, whether that's because you've run out or you want to change the color. Although we do recommend that if you're going to change the color, you might want to contact us about buying an extra one of these. So let's say I run silver and gold. I can have one of these with silver, one of these with gold, and I can just quickly swap them out, because if you pull these on and off, you're going to end up wasting foil and causing issues, and it's a real hassle. So having an extra foil cassette is definitely very convenient. Like so. So any rejects will come out here, and the ones that have completed successfully will come in here. And the way you retrieve them is you just reach down and pull them up. This thing will, raise up as it goes along, so that if you had a whole 200, you probably won't be able, to take them out in a single, unless you pull it all the way to the top like that. So this thing can be brought up, and then I could pull them all out, or if there's just a few, I can reach down and just grab and pull those up like I showed here. Be very careful that you don't damage this. If it doesn't come up, on its own or something, don't jam on it or anything, because that thing does have sensors as well. So it's important that that's brought up evenly, that you don't jam it or do anything that causes it to have a problem. Anytime if there's a jam or some problem that a card is wedged, never force anything. If you can't figure out how to get it out with gentle touch, then be sure to contact us, because you can damage this device if you were to damage a roller or something else trying to forcefully remove a card. So never allow frustration to take over. You have a large investment in this piece of equipment that can run for years and hundreds of thousands of cards if properly cared for. Okay, this is a different unit, but I do want to address that your particular model not only has the embosser and the foil tipper, but it also has a print module. Now these print modules were designed for operations where they were going to print barcodes, monochrome or single color text, and simple graphics. And at some point in the future, if you decided that you wanted to utilize that particular application, you could do so. I think the software ID Works to operate one of these machines is about $2,500 for the software. So in the meantime, we just kind of suggest you don't worry about it. Unfortunately, the one side is you do have to run the ribbon, and it's not a big deal, because I want to show you, and we gave you several rolls of the ribbon, is that it's universal on one side. Basically, it's going to run the roll out onto the uptake. When you're done, you're just going to take these off, flip them over, and run it through again. It doesn't allow you to run the module without the ribbon in place, because it has a sensor that you cannot turn off that would detect that there's no ribbon, and it would give you errors. So that's why we provide you the ribbon. It's going to advance, so as it operates, you're going to see that happen. It's pretty easy to change out these things. Right on these, right, they just lift straight off. Let me see on this. Oh, this particular one happens to have a little pin on it. I don't believe yours does. So if you do, you have to take that particular thing off, possibly. But basically, they just slide down on it, and the ribbon is just fed down on the outside of this and the outside of this. And I will send you a more in-depth on a machine that's up and running. I will send you a more in-depth on how you load the cleaning roller and the ribbon, which we provide to you, and that they can be flipped around and run through multiple times. And we do provide, if you needed additional rolls in the future. But anyway, I'll have a more in-depth video on how to actually load the ribbon. I'll demonstrate it when I have a tripod and I have both of my hands. But for now, don't worry about it, because the ribbon is installed, everything, and it will probably work for in excess of 3,000-4,000 cards. And you'll definitely have videos and other information on how to address that long before you need to swap out or flip over the ribbon. Okay, so here I have a laptop. I'm using a Dell Latitude notebook. Any desktop or laptop can be used. And let me go through the basic procedures right here. If you have a built-in serial port, then the cable we sent you right here will go into that 9-port serial port. If you do not, you will connect it to your USB to serial port. And make sure that when you're doing that, you install the drivers correctly so that it's operational. Usually it'll come with a disc. Alright, so it just goes directly into USB. The USB goes to the 9-port side of the null serial cable. And then, of course, as we said before, the 25 pin goes into the host port. Going to the other side is where, if I can, is where the power's at, is where we can power on. Now for loading cards, this thing will lock back. You'll notice you can lift right here and it will go forward. Don't let it slam forward because that could damage it. So I can lock that here and put in my cards. In this case, I'm putting them in, and then just like so. The one thing to understand is that you can only run flat, unembossed cards. Never emboss. Now you can run a card that's been printed. Let's say you had a thermal printer like this, or like this, or like the Zebra, and you can print and put a flat printed card through here, which makes it a very useful machine to be able to do your flat color graphics and then print, then emboss and foil tip. But never, ever, ever take a finished card. We've had some people, for some reason, I don't know exactly why, that took cards like this, or the test cards that we sent, loaded these in, and then took them through, and they got jammed, and they caused damage. The path is only designed for a flat card, and then once it has been embossed, whether it's 1 character or 50 characters, it can no longer be fed through this machine. So bear that in mind. Let everybody know only flat, whether they are blank or pre-printed cards, can be loaded into this machine. You will not be able to operate if this is open. You'll see that I'm getting an interlock open. Interlock means that the sensor that determines whether or not these are shut, they have switches on them. If either of these are not fully closed, you will get an interlock error. So these, now if you're opening or shutting this, be careful that this doesn't come over and jam on that. So you be careful about that, that it, bring it down nice and slow, and then make sure that that's closed like that. If I happen to get an error like I just showed you, it's going to say press escape to continue. So I'll just press the escape button. Okay, so that's the basic configuration. That pick it up, carry it, and from the safe points that I indicated, put it on a flat, solid, level surface, plug it directly into a high-quality either UPS uninterruptible power supply, like a 2,000 volt amp or higher UPS if you want to protect it against brownout surge suppressors, surges, or a quality surge suppressor. And then you're going to put the null serial cable, the 25 port, into the host port, and the 9 port into your serial port, whether that be native built into your computer if it's an older model, or if not, connect it to the USB side of the serial adapter and the USB into here. When you power this on, make sure that these are both closed. So I'm using a Dell Latitude here running Windows 7 Professional, but this could be on any computer that you have running Windows 7, 8, 8.1, or 10. It will substantially be the same. I'm not going to show you the installation of DC Print because we have a separate tutorial that I'll give you a link for. So I'm going to say pause this particular video, install your software, and get to the point that you have it ready to go. And once that's done, we'll pick up from here. Okay, I'm just running this in demo mode. You'll get a activation key. The important thing that I need to let you see here is with the Datacard 150i, there are different settings. So my USB adapter is running on COM6. So once you've installed that, and the way you'll determine, which I believe I showed that in the other video, but you do need to get to your device manager so that you can take a look at under ports. So I can see right here that my USB to serial is COM6. So that's where I got that particular information to know. And of course, my computer recognizes that this has a COM6 and a COM4 being used. For my USB adapter, it's COM6. I'll choose that. Now, on the Datacard 150i, this is set to usually 9600. Like so. But with the 280 and the 295, it operates at a higher bit rate or baud rate, and it's 38400. So make sure that that setting is set into it, and then you save. Okay. In the other video, you will have seen that we'll show that we have sample files and stuff. We have a quick, easy sample template and a sample data file so that we can see a preview and actually print a card once we've connected. So I'm going to say connect here, and of course, like I showed in the other video, once it says ready for data command is how I know that I'm ready to go, that it has a good data connection, and I can start producing cards.